All right, thanks, Mike. I appreciate the opportunity to be able to present to you guys. And as when we get to the end of the presentation, I'll open up for questions. And if you don't like the presentation, you can blame the Harlingen EDC. They're the ones that got they should have known better. But so one of the things I like to do, can everybody hear me okay? I'm kind of it's in my name. I'm a walker and a talker kind of a guy. So I get my steps in when I'm on the phone. So here we go. Dusty. There we go. Can you hear me? So so one of the things I like to start off with real quick is how many people in this room don't answer the EDC? How many people in this room actually knew that Harlingen had a wonderful? I don't believe you could. So I asked that question because when they first introduced me in 2014 at the Harlingen Chamber of Commerce, go through the reception, do all that. My wife and I were walking out of the building, and in walks this person. I'll hold the door for her. She walks in, and I said, "How you doing? My name's Walker Smith. I'm the new port director for Harlingen." She said, "Harlingen has a port?" I said, "Well, yes, I am." And it's kind of the answer that I got quite a bit. And so I asked her, I said, "Well, are you from Harlingen?" She said, "I was born and raised. I've been here 54 years. She said, "Wow, okay." And I said, "Well, what do you do?" She said, "I work for the Valley Morning Star." So real quick, I got introduced to the fact that nobody really knew anything about Port Harlingen. And that was going to be something that I really could work on to try and bring attention to what we do for the region. We're not just, focused on Harlingen. We are definitely a regional transportation hub and provide services throughout the Rio Grande Valley. If you put gasoline in your car this morning, most likely it came through the Port of Harlingen, through our Sunoco facility. It was delivered to the gas stations in and around here and thereabout. So let's go through a little bit about this. If anybody has any questions, feel free to stop me. My wife told me quit rambling, keep it short and sweet. So I'm the port director for Harlingen. Any questions? All right, so real quick, a little bit of history on the operations in Port of Harlingen. So we were created in 1927 by the Texas Legislature. Began operations in 1952. Through those years, we were working on collecting all the land and easements that were needed to be able to cut the Arroyo Colorado for transportation. It's a natural occurring waterway, but it was not naturally set up to be able to handle 300-foot barges. So we were working through all those issues and collecting the infrastructure, collecting the land to be able to cut the channel for navigation. So as I said, 1952, we've been in operation for 73 years. I do have a board of commission that are all elected individuals. So we are our own political subdivision. We're not part of the city. We're not part of the county. We're our own political subdivision. A little bit about our infrastructure. We do have 5 docks. Currently, right now, we have 5. There's 3 liquid docks, 2 dry bulk docks that we bring in sand and aggregate hauler. We also are able to do project cargo. We can bring in, recently we brought in pipeline for the LNG plants and the pipeline that's going to feed the LNG plants. We brought in pipeline for other water infrastructure as well throughout the Rio Grande Valley. Over the years, we created a truck queuing at the Port of Harlingen. We've got about 1 million square feet of open storage and truck queuing. So it's kind of dual purpose right now. We have 2,500 acres of land. About 850 of that right now is available for development. We are in what they call a shallow draft sport. So we handle river barges. We can't take vessel or anything like that. With the nature and the way that Hawaii, Colorado is set up, that is all we will ever be. There is no need for us to go deeper. We can't go wider because of the communities that are along the Hawaii, Colorado. And so it's kind of nice that, if we're not having to worry about is go lobby the U.S. government to, get us funding to go deeper. We just have to lobby to make sure that we are maintaining the authorized depth that we have. We do have a little bit of rail service that is serviced by UP. It's 3,700 feet of track. That's not very much, but we do have a little bit of that right now in the plans to expand and the fuses. And then every road that we have throughout the Port of Harlingen is concrete. So we do have a very stout road infrastructure to be able to handle all the heavy big traffic we do handle at the Port of Harlingen, which we'll get into in a little bit. A little bit about our funding. Majority of our funding does come from operating, our revenues that we generate through our leases and as well as our operations. Not operating, which would be not operating would be our lease, things like that. The operating would be the portage that we receive from the operations tax authority. Then we do have a small tax as well that we reinstated in 2017 that generates about 30% of what our funding is. 2023-24, the total funding for the Port of Harlingen was $4.8 billion. So a little bit about our commodities and tonnage that operate in our economic impact. So these are some of our tenants that we have. So we are heavy on fuel export to Mexico. That is our biggest business that we have at the port. These three companies here, Titan Fuel, Key Petrol, and Sunoco, so Sunoco does regional as well as exports to Mexico as well. Key Petrol and Titan Fuel, they solely export fuel to Mexico. There's a huge need for fuel in Mexico because they don't have the ability to be able to meet their demand and we're finding what they need to meet their demand. And so they import a lot of the fuel for us. Titan Fuel at one point did about 20% of the entire Mexican market through the Port of Harlingen. So we do about 1.8 billion tons of fuel that is exported to Mexico, and then quite a bit of that is also for the Rio Grande Valley as well, as I mentioned before. A lot of it is also brought in by pipeline. The rest of it is brought in by barge. Cement, which we need to change that because they recently bought out by VMK. They bought their facility. So BMJ and Legal Concrete Materials, they bring in sand aggregate for the production of concrete, but also they utilize us also for pipe bedding for pipelines and things like that. This year we did 323,000 tons. Last year, 323,000 tons of sand, which was almost 120% increase because of all the things that are going on at SpaceX, at the LNGs, and just all the infrastructure great that you're seeing throughout the Rio Grande Valley. Thank you. So we also are a very large, big supporter of agriculture in the region. We have two cotton gins that are situated for Harlingen, as well as bacterium. We go to a grain market. So they buy grain from the Rio Grande Valley farmers throughout the Rio Grande Valley. They buy grain from them and then export it mostly to Mexico. About 85% of what they purchase is exported to Mexico for feedstock in Mexico. Harlingen Gin, RGB Gin, they process cotton. They're in gins. Between the two gins, we generally do about 1/3 of the Rio Grande Valley cotton crop. There is cotton. So Ziploc, Nutrient Ag Solutions, and Helena. They are the ag fertilizer and chemical distributors for the Rio Grande Valley. And they bring in barges of liquid fertilizer to be distributed to the Rio Grande Valley farmers. They also bring in by truck the ag chemicals that they use to take care of the crops that they have that we grow here at the Rio Grande Valley. So one thing you'll notice we used to have, which most of you all probably know, some do not, but we used to have Rio Grande Valley sugar growers up here as one of our tenants, which unfortunately they are no longer one of our tenants because the sugar mill bill being sold and they going away. They were a big contributor to our economic impacts, the region's economic impacts. And we have, as you'll see later in the presentation, we have a warehouse that they utilize to export the sugar. The pulling lounge. So a little bit about our tonnage, you can see here. This is, I said, we're heavy in the fuel industry, export to Mexico. And so one of the things that we're looking to do because of this, how heavy we are in the fuel, is to be able to diversify our portfolio a little bit. Because we've gone through about a 16-week slowdown with the issues that are going on here in the United States as well as Mexico. And so we haven't been able to really cross any of the fuel efficiently. So we've taken a little bit of hit on our revenues this year, but still did well, still ended up in flat. But looking to diversify a little bit from this. Even though our footprint is very large at the Port of Harlingen for ag industry, for the fertilizer guys and at the ag fertilizer chemical distributors, they're a very small portion of what we do workage-wise, operational-wise. And then that's because it's a very seasonal product that comes in. Obviously, the growing seasons are different throughout the year, so it's a very seasonal product. Aggregates is a big portion of that as well. And normally, as industry grows here in the Rio Grande Valley, the aggregates are growing that quite a bit as well. Now, all of this moves, the majority of this moves across our docks at the forest. Annual tonnage, this is from 2018 to 2024. We hit that 2 million ton range, and then you see these spikes here. This is all generated because of fuel exports to Mexico. There's a huge, huge demand during this time, and still is a huge demand. There's just some there tends to always be issues in crossing cargo to Mexico from here. And so we also, during this time here, we ended up with the state of Texas and DPS and public safety, because of all the Mexican operators that were coming into the Port of Harlingen. They felt like there were some nefarious activities coming on at the port. It didn't help that we did have some guys that were smuggling crude out of Mexico 6 miles down the channel. We kind of got guilt by association in that, got caught up in that. We worked through that and looking past. I expect that you'll see the tonnage here get back to this range in the next 2 to 3 years with some of the things and advantages that we're seeing in security, dumpability, and ICU. Water percentage. So this is all the tons that we bring in. Last year we did about 1.4 billion tons of cargo by large. Big spikes in here, all due to the fuel that's being get by large. Annual vessel calls, that correlation with the tonnage is up. A little bit about our economic impact. This is from 2023. We update our economic impact about every 83 years. Generally, we coordinate that with our legislative sessions because we spent a lot of time in Austin advocating for the Sports Association and our own port authorities for funding. We in 2023 actually we received as ports in general in Texas, we received about $650 million in funding. First time ever. It's never been done before, other than through writers of the transportation funding bill. But this was solely for the port of Harlingen, which solely for ports to invest in their infrastructures. It talks in some inside the ports. So we have 966 direct jobs, total jobs of 22,817, all related to the operations at Port of Harlingen. We've looked at the numbers and the money generated through the port. Direct revenue by port-dependent businesses, $250 million. Generated at $799 million in local, state, and tax revenue. Local business purchases, $175.5 million, and total economic impact of $4.6 million. That's pretty good for the little-known port, as Mike said, a little-known other port in South Texas. So one thing that we really tried to push this past year at the legislative session was this number right here. Every dollar invested in the state of Texas, in the Texas ports, $53.46 is returned back to the state of Texas. So any investment that you do into a water port, your investment is turned back significantly. So that's a big plus if you way to invest into your ports. Benefit of barges. It's a question I get a lot of times. Is, well, what's the big deal about barges? Why barge? Well, over the past 10, 15, 20 years, there's been a big green energy push. And for every barge you bring in, you're taking 16 rail cars off the track and 70 semi-trucks off the road. For every one barge. We did 680 barges. And so you multiply that by 70 or by 16, and that's how many trains that just the Port of Harlingen is taking off the road or the tracks. That's crossing Tyler and Harrison when you try to get to work by 8 o'clock, try to get home, they have cool nice stew. We're removing those trains that are getting in your way, or those semi-trucks that are on the expressway or on the roads. We're removing those trucks, bringing in those bargains. And there's also a statistic that I can't think of it off the top of my head, but the carbon footprint of one barge versus the 70 semi-trucks, as well as the trains, is significantly less than what those are. Unit takes all. A little bit about the facilities that we have. So it's a pretty good picture to be able to show you what we got first idea. This is what we call our main dock or our sugar dock right here. This is our turning basin that we have. This is one of our credible wharfs that we have here. This is where we bring in a majority of our stadium. What you don't see in this picture is a tank barn that was built here in year by Type Fuels. They've invested close to $30 million in tank farms and infrastructure of the port. And these tanks that was building at that time. This is the Sunoco facility that we have right here. This is where all the regional fuel comes in and is distributed through. This is our sugar warehouse. What we call our sugar warehouse, we call our sugar shack. It is available, obviously, for whatever can be. It's set up, which we'll go through here a little bit, set up for agriculture. So as I said, we have 850 acres of land that are available. Over the last several years, we've been able to purchase this land in here. We own all this here as well. As you can see in this shot here, I mentioned a pipeline for the LNG plants that were coming in, as well as other things. This is what you see here. This is all 24-inch pipe that's going for a pipeline for the LNG that's being stored at these two facilities here. It is construction ready. These are utilities that we have in the area. The capacity of the channel is 1,200 to 1,504 tons on a deck barge. Liquid, you can bring in approximately 25,000 barrels of liquid. We do have access to the trade zone number 62 through the Port of Brownsville. We do have an overway corridor that extends from the Port of Harlingen down to the Los Indios Free Trade Bridge. So you purchase an overway permit that allows you to carry up to 125,000 gross pounds, or whatever the allowable axle weight is for that cargo. And then every run, as I mentioned, and even some of the queuing areas. This one here is a concrete queuing area. And then this one and this one are all it's crushed concrete that we have that it will install as well. This is the warehouse, 6,000 square feet. It's got a 62-foot high building, and it's got to make, so as I said, it's set up for sugar. So inside the warehouse, so here you drive into the warehouse, and it has a pit with an elevator leg that allows it to be distributed throughout the warehouse here. It's got 2 roll-up doors on either side. On this side where you can drive through, the hangar door on this side. It's got asphalt flooring in here because they poured sugar on it. They didn't need concrete, but certainly can be. We can put concrete in there and it's definitely multi-purpose industrial manufacturing, distribution, aggregates, and those kinds of things. It's got a conveyor that goes from the warehouse. So it's got a 2-way conveyor in the bottom of the pit. And you can move the commodity out to the channel to be able to dump it in cars. That's how the sugar mill would export sugars. They would run it on this conveyor into a barge, and they would ship it to Louisiana to the Harlingen sugar plant. But this is available. With the sugar industry going away, this is available that anybody sits. But with all 3 modes of transportation available: water, roads, and rail. So rail was provided here, so you can easily access it into the facility or near the facility was. So some of the improvements of what we're going to be doing to improve aggressive infrastructure or asset capital improvement program going on. This Seaboard Connectivity Program, this is through TxDOT. This is part of that RIDER programs that we were talking, that I mentioned before, that's part of the HB1 transportation bill, funding bill. And it allows for connectivity projects. So anything that's connecting to the state infrastructure, we can use these funds for it. And what we're doing right now is we're doing a road elimination, safety, and infrastructure resiliency projects. So we're installing lights throughout the port. If you've ever been to the port prior to today, at night, it was pitch black. You couldn't hardly see. So it made operation very inefficient and very not very safe, to be honest. Security was an issue as well because of how dark it was. So, they were addressing that with the lights we're putting in, also put it up the solar lights throughout the Port of Harlingen. And so that's going to help tremendously. Infrastructure resiliency, we are doing, and that basically is a drainage project that we're doing March 27 and 28, which those that are living in Harlingen will remember The Port of Harlingen itself received 22.8 inches of rain in 48 hours. I had 8 feet of water over my dock. And the drain ditch that then drained about 2,000 acres of ground in and around the area that we just recently purchased was overflowing and water was going everywhere. And so we're improving that drain ditch to address those issues, as well as saving the infrastructure that we have that's not going to be compromised by any kind of flood water or anything like that, as well as safe infrastructure, because the land that we have is on the other side of the state highway. It was a major issue of erosion in and around that highway because of the drain that went underneath the road. And so we're addressing that as well, like with text on that. So as I said, drainage done on Court Road to help with road erosion in and around before. So this installing lights here. This was a $4 billion project. We actually, for this project, we actually received $7.8 million in total funding. But half of that funding is TxDOT used to allow us to be the local sponsor on projects. They do not allow us to do that anymore. So we gave them the other half of those dollars to be able to address any kind of issues that they had on Exit 106 that connects to the court. So we're addressing some of those as well. We can cut it to partnering with TxDOT. So we also have a MARAD grant program going on right now. It's a Port Infrastructure Development Grant Program. So we got a $3.9 million project. That's the federal funds, and it's actually clearly about a $7 million project. Of that $7 million, $3.9 million is what the federal government is sharing on that with us. And we are addressing our main dock. Our main dock was built in the 50s, and we addressed the issue on dock number 1 in 1963. It's never been touched since. We addressed some issues in 1993 on dock number 2. It had not been touched since. So there's a lot of issues that we were running into that needed to be addressed. So that's what we're doing with this project here. You see here, this is our main dock here. They're pulling all the figuring system off that dock that's on the front right there. A lot of it was, I don't know if I'll have pictures, but a lot of it was just hanging by rusted old bolts that were, barely hanging on the figuring system, protecting the main infrastructure of that dock. Some other things we got that we're looking at is our rail yard development. We're looking to install about 14,500 feet of new track. As I said before, we've got 3,700 feet. So that was one of our SWOT analysis for our master plan, strategic plan. That is one of our weaknesses that we had was the risk. And so we're addressing that by doing it where the estimates right now is about $30 million for the 14,500 feet track. This is the land that it is the one that we're buying, and this is the conceptual design. And we are about to engage consultants to help us start designing this so that when we get to the legislative session of 2027, we're able to go after some of the funding for this project here and hopefully get funding for this $30 million project through the state tests. We've also, through Steve Gage right now, we've got an advertisement for bids on an asset management plan. As I said, on this main dock rehabilitation project that we're doing, there's a lot of issues that we had from, that needed to be addressed all the way back from 1993. And so we're spending a heck of a lot more money than we really needed to by not addressing issues that we have with these docks going forward. And so to be able to address these and be proactive about it, our asset management rather than reactive we're going to be engaging consultants to do this asset management. It's $900,000 total project of that 700,000 is coming from the federal government. So we're going to be engaging on that as well. My annual channel maintenance. That's one of the biggest things that I'm finding with Army Corps of Engineers always is making sure that we have the funding to maintain our channel. If our channel goes away, we can't maintain our channel, we cannot bring in cargo, we do not exist. This is probably the most important thing that I do is make sure that we have, on average, about $1.5 to $2 million every 2 years to maintain our channel. It keeps it to an optimal depth of 12 feet. Our channel is authorized 12 feet. Our 30 basin is authorized to 16. Then you'd be surprised what comes out of that channel sometimes where they dredge. I've seen refrigerated doors, tires, I haven't seen anybody first. Turning basin expansion. This is one of the biggest things that we're working on. It's a $35 million project. Right now we're doing a study with the Army Corps of Engineers. This is at our third turning basin that it stands currently. We own all this land here. This is a facility, lay down yard. And so this is what we're looking to do with it in the future. Hopefully, sure in the light. We do not have a whole lot of growth potential on either side of the channel. This is where our growth potential is for the channel. And so we're really engaging with coordinates here to try and get them. There's a program that's called the Continuing Authority Program 107 through the coordinates here in the federal government that they pay for 90% of the infrastructure. We pay for 10%. And so we're really trying to get that. And then they also assume the maintenance of that development as well. So that's a huge benefit to us. And so we're working through that right now with our corporate engineers. Currently, it's in Washington, D.C. At the Army Corps of Engineers headquarters waiting for approvals. So a lot of our long-term focus, as I said before, commodity diversification, that's one of the base ones we're looking at. We've been actively expanding our land portfolio, trying to be able to give us the opportunity for expansion or business expansion as well. Again, to have a land before we can do the business. And so that's what we've been doing actively and aggressively in the last couple of years. Asset management, maintenance, as I said, we're doing that asset management study through with the federal government. Utility enhancements, water, energy is a big one. A lot of the companies that are coming to us looking for hydrogen and to put place their business in our area need out, and we just don't have the power to be able to provide some of these facilities. So we're working with AEP to try and enhance that operational enhancement, funding source diversification, operational enhancement, that train basin, rail, those are some things we're really working on trying to improve upon. So that is all I have for you. Probably went a little bit longer than y'all wanted me to do, try to understand. But I'm hoping to answer any questions. If they're hard, I'll turn it over to Amy. She knows all the answers. But yeah, I'm glad to answer any questions that you might have. Good. Pop quiz. Anybody else?
Can you explain a little bit about this, the exciting the child coming
Expanding the train basin, what are the benefits of it? Sure. Now, some benefit one is it allows us to be able to utilize the land that we have that we're not able to right now, waterside. It provides some of our facilities with waterside access, which currently does not have. Some of that land doesn't have any access whatsoever. And so it provides us better access with other modes of transportation via the water. And it also enhances safety of the operations in the port as well. So we got, that's a good big trash. So you see how big these barges are, how many there are. This is what we had the sugar mill loading. These guys are trying to operate here. This is a very small area for them in which to be able to turn. So the turning basin is exactly what it sounds like. They bring the barges down here, they turn them to be able to situate them for their facilities where they could be offloading. And so this can be a very congested area when it's busy. So by expanding it further, what we doing? So by expanding it further this way, we are making it a much safer operation in order which to operate as well. But it opens us up also to be able to bring in more tenants and expand our business portfolio as well by adding in the channel expansion. Yep, and along with that channel expansion, one of the things that we're doing also is we're adding in feeding areas. So areas along the channel where barges can go and park, because it takes 4 to 6 hours from the mouth of the Uoya at the GIWW to get to the turning basin. And so when that happens, there's a lot of time. So they can, if there's a barge going out, it's essentially a one-way traffic. If there's barge going out, barge cannot come in. And so by adding these fleeting areas in there, it adds more efficient transportation along the channel throughout the operation period. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
How long do the properties to stomach Garrison?
They're average. We basically they're tailored to whatever the tenant is looking for. So we have one that we have that is a thorn in my side is a 99-year lease on this grain elevator. And the problem is that grain elevator, this one here, that grain elevator was set up in 1954. It was the first facility that was set up. And there is no wharfage, operational revenue, or anything like that comes on. So any truck or anything like that, or any commodity that comes into that facility, I get nothing out of it. The only thing I get is the land lease, and we do have that one. That's a 99-year lease, and then the rest of them are an average of primary 10 with however many rolls. We allow extensions and rolls of those. So, on average, they're probably 30, 40, 50 years.
Keep them.
Yes, sir.
How does this back go? Like the turning point to be to accommodate
To accommodate the what?
barges.
So the turning basin itself, right, is a 16-foot, or it's a 14-foot depth, and they do advanced maintenance on it to 16 feet. So the channel itself is authorized at 12 feet with advanced maintenance of 14 feet. And so it allows, so that's about a 9.5-foot draft for the barges. Saw another hand go up somewhere around there. No? Any other questions? Comments, concerns? Yes, ma'am.
I was just curious, the sugar, it's the awareness and that. Having that area.
Not serious.
The sugar, I'm sorry, the sugar that
The was older.
right. I know about. So I've heard quite a bit about it over the last couple months about that there's a possibility of, and then obviously the Texas Ag Commissioner has announced that they are going to come back in with plans to be back in operation and processing sugar in the next 3 years. How is Port of Harlingen going to be involved in that? How are they going to utilize that our sugar warehouse? I don't know. I mean, it makes sense that we would have a conversation with them. But we have not had any conversations with them to this point. Hopefully we can. But, we also can't have a asset like that sit idle for 3-4 years to allow them to get operational. So we'll see. But yeah, there's a lot of questions regarding that and how we would be involved. But we have not spoken to any principals or any of the important people involved in that just yet.